I'm sure most of you have heard that Bud Light has sponsored UFC, and we've all made our jokes about it. A lot of people were upset. They were calling for a boycott of UFC. Now we have UFC champion Sean Strickland in what may be one of the most, masterfully played trolls and strategies in the culture war with his overt defense of Bud Light. No, but hear me out. This guy knows what he's doing. And I think what he's doing is very, very, very smart. We'll be very careful here on YouTube. But basically what this guy has done is he comes out and he says he's going to fix Bud Light. He's so excited for the sponsorship. It is amazing. And what do we all expect? We had Cash Patel on the show when this news breaks. And Cash is like, I'm going to text a UFC fighter and see what they say about the Bud Light sponsorship. And then he looks at his phone. They're pissed. And we're like, yeah, how many people want to come out with the Bud Light label behind them or on the ground and be like, this is what we're all about? Sean Strickland says he's going to fix the beer and made a series of statements on Twitter, a series of statements which I'm pretty sure violate a lot of rules on a lot of platforms, to be completely honest. Basically saying that, he thinks women are born. He defends biological females. And some of the statements he made are, let's just call it particularly offensive to the left. His point? Bud Light backs what I say and gave me money. What now? When I first heard this, I was like, dude, are you really? I'm like, I heard this guy said he was great. It was so great to get the sponsorship and he likes the money and he appreciates it. And I was like, here we go. Is this going to be another story of some guy being like, I ain't got no values. Pay up, baby. And I'm thinking to myself, man, money talks. That's what it's all about. And then I actually looked at what he said and I was like, oh, damn. Basically, he's put out a series of statements. I'm going for the newsworthiness of this. I'm going to show you what he said. Okay. And for the educational context, actually, I'll disagree a little bit. We'll clarify some things, but I'll show what he says. We have this from louderwithcrowder.com. UFC champion tests limits of Bud Light sponsorship with anti-trans comments, says he can't wait to fix the beer. We have this one from Outkick.com. Sean Strickland shares blunt message after Bud Light UFC deal. And then finally, you see where we're going with the headlines here. Sportskeeda, Sean Strickland labels the transgender community as mentally ill in risky statement on Bud Light UFC partnership. Okay. The first thing I want to clarify is, I think this really, really does matter. I don't know what people mean by mentally ill, and I genuinely, I get the general idea, like your brain isn't aligned properly or something. Gender dysphoria is a mental disorder as defined by the DSM-5. This is the diagnostic medical document breaking down these things. Now, there are many on the left who at one point wanted to get gender dysphoria removed, saying it's not a mental disorder. But the trans community actually said, no, stop. If you remove it from diagnostic criteria, people can't get prescription medicines. So it needs to remain a mental disorder in order for people to seek treatment. Otherwise, they'll just say, then there's no disorder here, then you don't get any medicine, prescription only. Now, a lot of people say mentally ill, and for some reason, I think YouTube has like a bone up their ass about it. They don't like it's like, hey, it's a mental disorder. That's what you're supposed to say. You can't call it a mental illness. I don't know. Perhaps it's because they find mentally ill offensive or whatever. But for the sake of this segment, look, I'm not trying to drag on anybody who's trans. I got trans friends. There are some people we don't like. I think Dylan Mulvaney is a narcissistic sociopath, irrespective of being trans. I think Dylan Mulvaney is not actually trans. I think Dylan Mulvaney is getting plastic surgery to fit a character and is more borderline, narcissist, borderline personality disorder, narcissistic, histrionic, all of those things, and desperate for attention, as exemplified by the other videos made by Dylan Mulvaney, as well as the fact that Dylan tried a series of different kinds of content, including animal safari stuff, none of which worked. And then finally, when the trans thing started to work, Dylan doubled down on it, said, I'm non-binary, then I'm trans, and then made a whole bunch of videos because Dylan was getting traffic. So I don't think Dylan's actually trans. But here we go. Let's read this from Outkick. I think it's important to note the difference in the headlines. They say, Sean Strickland is ready to give Bud Light a shot, but he thinks the company absolutely messed up in partnering with Dylan Mulvaney. The move has been seen by many as an attempt to get back into the good, blah, blah, blah. Sean Strickland is keeping an open mind, making it clear his views won't be changing on the transgender issue. See, this is funny because I don't know if Outkick actually understands what he's doing. He says, I am so effing proud of you guys for doing the right thing after that F up. You know how I feel about transgenders. I go effing hard. Just what I do. He says he's the biggest advocate for biological females, et cetera, et cetera. Now, here's the thing. When I first saw this, I was like, what do you mean doing the right thing? Bud Light doubled down on giving money to pride events, and some of them had lewd and lascivious activities in front of children. Oh, I see it now. They say it's unclear what right things Bud Light did after the Mulvaney disaster, other than writing a fat check to the UFC. Let me break it down for you, Outkick. This dude goes on Twitter, and this is the point he's making. He said, I really want a Bud Light sponsorship. Yes, I like money, but I think it's a story of redemption. Either way, I'll go so hard on them my next fight. They will have to accept me or denounce me, and then we will know what they stand for. Holy crap. This dude has declared war on Bud Light. And sort of, what he's saying is, when he comes out at the next fight and speaks, he is going to make so many offensive statements, as he's already doing, that Bud Light is going to have to either break the contract, give USC all the money for nothing, or let his statement stand. Oh, man. This dude just gripped Bud Light by the balls and squeezed. Now, I don't know what their contract terms are, but when we found out that Bud Light was sponsoring UFC, I'm thinking, like, how many UFC guys they're gonna rag on Bud Light like crazy? Here's where it gets crazy. Here's the crazy thing. This dude figured it out. This dude's smart. I'm wondering about the Bud Light contract. Typically, here's how it works. In a lot of these business contracts, if someone says, hey, we're going to sponsor your event, we'll give you $1 million. You have a term. Okay, done. Signed a contract. The point of the contract is you can't break it. If you decide to change your mind, you're on the hook for the $1 million. There may be an escape clause of some sort. Like if we agree to terminate, we'll pay a penalty of $250,000. This is a $100 million contract. And Dana White probably said to Bud Light, you realize what's going to happen if you do this. And Bud Light said, we have to do it. We're going to do it. And he's like, you're going to get backlash. It's going to be big news. And maybe Dana White understood this better than we did. A lot of people were ragging on Dana. I got to pause for a minute. I don't know what he can or can't say, but this may actually be the forced realignment of Bud Light that people have been asking for. When Sean Strickland and other MMA fighters come out and start making overt political statements that are shockingly offensive to the left, Bud Light can't do anything about it. Now, Bud Light hasn't apologized. They keep doubling down. But this is what he's saying. Sean Strickland is saying, he says women are born, not made. He calls transgender people mentally ill. And he says society should not even accept them as normal. Now Bud Light gives me money. And I just said that. I've been saying that my entire career. So what do they support? Okay. Look, while I'm not saying I agree with his statements here. You know what I mean? My point is this. Bud Light, upset over the deal with Dylan Mulvaney, has been panicking. Now they're sponsoring MMA, and they know the opinions of MMA fighters. Bud Light is basically saying they want money behind MMA fighters' speech and not Dylan Mulvaney's. Wow. I gotta say, if I gotta be completely honest, this may be the Bud Light redemption I didn't see coming. Let me stress it again. If they put $100 million in MMA and all these fighters come out and start just going off about it, and Bud Light just says, well, we sponsored it. Wow. It's not an apology, but guys, I kind of think like that might be Bud Light's redemption. Now, I will say, I don't know, maybe Sean Strickland goes a little too hard, but that's kind of the point. It's not so much about what your actual opinions on gender dysphoria and transgender people are. This guy is realigning the Overton window as hard as possible away from where it currently is. And if Bud Light panics over this and severs the deal saying we do not want to be associated with this speech, he's got him by the balls. I imagine if they break this contract and say we want it removed, UFC says you owe us $100 million. How much you want to bet? All the leverage is in the hands of Dana White. Dana White says, okay, Bud Light, we'll do this deal with you. But if you back out for any reason, you pay us the full amount. And Bud Light said yes. Why? I'm not saying I know for sure. I'm saying, check it out. If Bud Light, it's interesting. I got to think smarter because I did not see this. I did not see it. And that was a mistake. Bud Light comes to me. I said if Bud Light offered me $100 million for sponsorship, I'd say no way. I now realize how stupid that is for exactly what Sean Strickland has said. No, you should take the deal. You should. And you force Bud Light to back everything you're saying. I feel really dumb. Last week, I said if they offered the money, I wouldn't take it. Why? Money's not everything. And then I realized that money, every dollar is a pledge for the words you say. Wow. This guy, Sean Strickland, smarter than me. I can't believe I missed this one. If Bud Light came to me now and said they wanted to sponsor the show, I'd smile and say, let's negotiate the terms. The terms are going to be, you can't back out. And if you do, you pay the full amount. And that's it, baby. Why? Because then every day when we have our conversations and with that Bud Light sign right behind us, Bud Light is backing every word we say. I did not even think that. I was too angry. I was too angry. And it was ignorant. And now I realize. Outkick says the UFC is notoriously anti-woke. And definitely has a lot of fans that are on the libertarian conservative parts of the spectrum. This may be one of the biggest culture war victories, and I did not see it coming. I thought this was selling out. Dana White was selling out. I can't believe they'd agree to this. Bud Light's a dead brand. And like, wait a minute. This may be one of the biggest cultural defeats the left has seen in the culture war yet. Bud Light giving $100 million to UFC is actually them waving the white flag in a way we could not have even thought possible. Man, these UFC fighters are going to come out and they're going to say such horrifying things that in Bud Light's perspective. And there's nothing they can do about it. If Bud Light cancels the deal, Bud Light's dead. All they can do now is say, keep talking, guys. Say whatever you want. The money's yours. Amazing. Amazing. I got to be honest. I can't believe I didn't see this. I feel really dumb. I'm like, they took the money. They're trying to save Bud Light. And now I realize this is exactly what you want to happen. These woke brands that get woke and go broke, what you want is to force them to realign, to force them to back you and say, you lost 30% of your sales. You want it back? You're going to pay me to say whatever I want. Crazy, right? You know, I wanted to stand on this like, I don't care about the money. I care about what matters in this country. And now I realize how stupid that was. Bud Light's waving the white flag saying, please, we beg of you. We beg of you. Now, here's the funny thing. Harley Davidson, they don't say much. So I'm like, get out of here with that. But UFC fighters are notoriously outspoken. I honestly think Bud Light bit off more than they could chew with this one. And it is going to be apocalyptic for the brand. Sean Strickland, dude, shout out. Well, I disagree. I think it can be done in ways, well, you know, I don't know. Look, man, I want to make sure that I'm being understanding, is the way I should say it. I want to make sure I'm being factually correct. I don't want to offend or insult anybody. But what he's doing, I don't think it's so much about trans people as it is about pushing back in the culture war. So that being said, I do not agree with what he's saying. I'm just presenting that in a news context for you. What you think is entirely up to you. My only point here is I agree with him challenging Bud Light to see if they actually care or if they are just trying to pander. We'll see. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.